how about those Sooners?
They're not too bad, are they?
No, they're pretty good at football. They
Believe it
we
or not.
are we I mean we can talk about we're gonna talk about the entire game right now, but the these talking heads in the national media and basically every doubter of all time can. I hope today they saw that Oklahoma isn't just. It's not what Lincoln Riley had in the plans for OU. Brent Venables has actually made Oklahoma a real team, both good offense and a defense that, if the offense makes a few mistakes, can recover for the boys.
It it is honestly incredible what we just watched. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about the game a whole lot, but I mean, I think we were talking before. I did not sit down for the entire game, and I was the one who tweeted out on our Twitter account that literally it felt like it took 5 years off my life, and it feels like it did. I mean, just from just as a fan perspective, obviously Oklahoma winning is great, but that was a fantastic game, and that's what makes college football the best thing there is. I mean, that is
Uh,
why you love college
for
football.
sure.
That game.
That kind of game, basically anywhere where the underdog can pull it off. That's why college football is better than the NFL, in my opinion. Because in professional football, you might not cover the spread, but like in the 2000s and 2010s, the New England Patriots are gonna win. Now we've got the Dolphins, the Bills in that conference. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are kind of dumb. Like you can kind of see who's better than everyone else. College football shows that the underdog can make plays. In Oklahoma, for what it's worth, one, I think they're for real. And I'm trying to take my subjectiveness as an Oklahoma fan out of it. But for two, fuck everyone that decided Texas was just going to be the next number one overall team in college football. Before this game, I don't know if you watch Game Day, but I'm in Arizona and I woke up at 5 in the morning to watch it from the very beginning. And when they talked about this game, it was, can Oklahoma out physical Texas? And we talked about it. I know you weren't on the
Mm-hmm.
live stream or the video from earlier this week, but Oklahoma was not going to get out physical. It was about, can the defense, especially on the outside, contain? And they basically just said, you know what? Take the yards, take all the yards you want. But when we get in the red zone, we're better. And it showed. And Teddy Lehman got proven right. Because when they were in the red zone, they were not very good. They being Texas. Texas was not very good in the red zone. And we're about to talk about it a little bit more, but I'm amped after this, especially because we had some doubters, but in the national media, Brandon Walker specifically, he decided to call Oklahoma the fakest team of all time, or the fakest team in college football this year. Fuck you, Brandon Walker. Dave Portnoy needs to get a better college football guy, because that guy doesn't watch anything but Mississippi State, and that's bad football. We've all seen it. They're terrible. They never won anything in their lives.
Coming into this game, it felt like the national media and the narrative was basically like Oklahoma shouldn't even make the trip. I mean, what are they doing? Like, why would they ever show up to the game? They have no shot, no way that they're ever going to be able to compete along the line of scrimmage. Texas has way more talent. Texas has NFL players. Texas this, Texas that. Oklahoma shouldn't even show up. And honestly, the weeks that you're going into games and it's the team that isn't getting, the love or whatnot, you feel like you're playing with house money. I mean, Oklahoma came into this a quiet 5-0. No one's really talking about Oklahoma. And despite, you know, they were winning despite playing bad teams and moving up the rankings just because teams ahead of them were losing and people were saying Oklahoma's not good, and yada, 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 whatever. But I know you and I and everyone that's in here, over 100 people already, that are
Shout
watching
out.
this, yeah, for sure, knew that this team was a little bit different. And they showed that they are different despite, I mean, they're not perfect. And I don't think there's a perfect team in college football this year. Um, but the way that Oklahoma was able to come in here, it's them against the world, and they went on and put a show on. I mean, they they honestly let Texas more in this game than Texas actually made the plays. Like Oklahoma had every opportunity. We could talk more about it, but I mean, it just felt like Oklahoma didn't take advantage of their opportunities and won despite that.
100%. I'm glad you brought it up because I don't know if you saw our video from earlier this week or the live stream. I know you were busy this week, but my point this week was it's Brent Venables versus Steve Sarkisian. Who is going to call the better game? And today we saw Brent Venables, Ted Roof. I think Ted Roof needs to get some props too because people were doubting him going into this year, saying he doesn't belong in this rank of college football. He shouldn't be there. But Oklahoma, the defense is real, and everyone needs to get used to that for the next 5-10 years. That defense is going to be what Brent Venables wants it to be, and what Brent Venables has shown at Clemson to be one of the best in college football. I'm going to be honest. Halfway through, semi drunk, Jeff Levy was pissing me off because he was just. It seemed like he was just moving too fast. He got into the bad habits. And I'm not going to even question the play calling. It was, you need to make sure Dylan knows, don't snap the ball until less than 10 seconds into the play clock. Kill as much time as you can. They were snapping the ball sometimes when it was pretty much a fresh play clock, over 25 seconds. Obviously, like, now that we're here talking, it doesn't matter. But you could have prevented a lot of stuff. And when the defense showed up for them, it could have been way better for Oklahoma, because if they would have actually ran a good offensive scheme after the turnover in the red zone for Texas early in the first quarter, you don't need. It's not even the matter of fact that you didn't score, but you gave them a short enough field where they were confident enough to go at the punter. And we all know that Plaster's not Turk. Not that I don't want to say he's terrible, but Plaster's not Turk. I think that's fair. You just have to give him some space. Give Texas enough, like where they're reserve enough, where they're not going to rush Plaster.
Yeah. See, so with Jeff Levy, to me, I understand, but that's the offense and that's the style he runs, and that style came back to help Oklahoma to win the game. To win the game. So let's start from the very beginning. Let's just rewind. I mean, we're about 10 minutes in here. We've got 150 people in here. So let's just
Shout
start.
out you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn that notification bell on. So let's start from the beginning. So the game opened up, and as it typically does, it was wild. Gentry Williams made a great play. Quinn Ewers pump fake, kind of second guessed himself and threw a lovely interception to old Gentry Williams. Oklahoma goes down and scores and goes up immediately 7-0. Which, can you ask for a better start? I don't think so. I mean, with that was what Dylan Gabriel ran that one in, I believe, right? Yeah,
Yeah, he
he ran
did.
that one
First
in.
touchdown was ran in.
So Dylan Gabriel scored the ball. Oklahoma's up 7-0 in the very beginning. Um, I mean, and then they just played well, and then the fake punt. I mean, the defense was flying around with their hair on fire. The fake punt. It is what it is, and despite all that, then they converted fourth down again, and then they were able to. What was it? Billy Bowman popped them. Uh, was it Sanders that he popped? And
Yeah,
then
he
Kendall Dolby
popped.
got the pick.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, if I remember right, Oklahoma got the ball, but then they ended up ultimately punting that ball away.
Well, that's the one
Um,
that led into the pump block that got
yeah,
us
that's
tied
right.
seven
You're right.
seven.
Yeah, you're right. And then it was tied 7-7. The special teams really held Oklahoma back. Um, I don't know what they were thinking, what they were doing. That punt block was kind of you know, a gut check. I mean, you know, it just was tough. And then a couple punts. Schmidt was able to get a field goal, and then Texas started really kind of rolling a little bit on their offense, in the second half. But Oklahoma takes a 2017 lead, and right before half, Dylan Gabriel throwing a little bit of a tough ball to Tawny Walker, and then Walker not catching it. I was scared that was going to come back and haunt Oklahoma.
On me too. We were talking about it in our text messages, but that could have been a problem. But that philosophy that Brent Venables has with the middle eight, dominate the middle 8 minutes of the game. The last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half, that has proven to be very effective for Oklahoma at this moment. I'm going to be honest with you. The game that Oklahoma played on the offensive side of the ball was very stressful. Some people are going to hate what I'm about to say, but Tawny Walker is the best running back for Oklahoma. He is RB1. He's shown it for many weeks. Every time he's gotten an opportunity to show out, he has made plays. And maybe it's not a first down every single carry, but Tawny Walker, to me, is the best running back in this group as of today. Maybe Gavin Sawchuk and Javante Barnes get more carries later on once they get a little bit healthier. But Tawny Walker, extremely hard to bring down. That Texas defense is no joke. Like, Brandon and I talked about it in our live stream and in the preview. They are good. But the biggest thing that they had when it comes to where's Texas the biggest, or where was Texas's liability, was the deep ball. And every deep ball that was thrown was good. Like the receiver was making a great play. DG put it in the spot where the corner or the safety wasn't able to make a play on it. And then in the run game, the defense made Quinn Ewers look average. Which, again, talking about our preview, Teddy Lehman was right. Like, he's not anything special, but he is probably one of the better game managers in college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to. He didn't have to try to win them the game. It was more so he couldn't lose them the game. And 2 interceptions and that fumble that Peyton Bowen popped him for, that fumble was huge as well. So, I mean, Oklahoma, going up 2017 at half, you felt good. Then Oklahoma came out and went down and scored another touchdown, went up 27-17. I started to feel halfway decent, but I knew the game wasn't over. And speaking of that fumble, the issue was, and why this game went the way it did, where it was, basically took 5 years off my life, is when Bowen popped him and he fumbled, when Ewers fumbled, Oklahoma had a chance to go drive down the field and go put this game away. They were right there. And this is a game last year that Oklahoma would have lost, and that we would have pointed that to that point there. And I think that's Oklahoma's next step in this progression. And I think they can get there this year. But it's just taking that moment and knowing that you got to go score there. And if they go down, go score a touchdown, go up 34-17, it's a total different game. It feels totally different. The momentum, everything. Um, and then really what embodies what Brent Venables is doing at Oklahoma is that goal line stand. I mean, they brought
That
in that was everything that Brent Venables is trying to do. That was incredible. Are you frozen? Are you muted?
No, 1 second.
Okay.
My mic decided to stop working for a second. You know what? Shout out to Ran Rodriguez here. He's a Texas fan. He watches our channel for whatever reason. At least he's one of those Texas fans that is, for the most part, pretty objective. Like, this week was, for us, Texas hate week. For him, OU hate week. And during our live stream, he was pissing me off a little bit. But yeah, this was not an easy win for Oklahoma. And by no means is Texas out of this. I think me and Brandon talked about it in our live stream and in our video to preview the game. The Big 12 is lucky this year because OU and Texas are in it. OU Texas very likely, in my opinion, could be both in the playoffs. We'll meet again. I strongly believe that. Like, one of these teams, and I'm not going to say Texas as much as some people will say this, one of these teams will need to royally screw up to be not in the Big 12 championship. Because Kansas State today looked bad against Oklahoma State, or yesterday looked bad against Oklahoma State. And out of all teams in the Big 12, that's probably the team that both OU and Texas would have been concerned about. Texas Tech, not really. They're only good at home. Away, pretty bad. And I guess we still have the Baylor versus Texas Tech game, but the problem was leading up to this game, in my opinion, both for the national media, Texas fans, those people that were having their opinions pre today's game were focusing on 49-0 last year. You knew, I know you weren't on the podcast this week. You knew, but I know you knew. I knew. Brandon knew. That game last year was an anomaly. We didn't have a good backup quarterback. We didn't have anything that, in case something went wrong, we were going to be just as good, if not better. Oklahoma now has a good backup quarterback, but DG did what he needed to do. I think Dylan Gabriel put himself in that Heisman race. I don't think he'll win it, to be honest with you, but he's at least going to be in New York if Oklahoma does what they need to do in the last 6 games.
That was a Heisman moment, for sure. But, talking about Oklahoma having that opportunity to go up 34-17, they obviously didn't. Then they let Texas score a field goal. Luckily, they didn't, give up a touchdown because of the penalty and whatnot. 27-20, and they get the ball again, and they don't do anything with it. Then Texas goes down and score. And then they get the ball again, don't do anything. Texas scores a field goal. And then Gabriel obviously gets the ball, and then they go down and score to have basically a walk-off. Oklahoma was good enough to win today. They had a lot of, injuries, unfortunately, and we can talk a few of those. But the fact that they were able to win despite not being able to execute in those big moments of that, unable to convert on 4th down to Drake Stoops, unable to convert to Stogner where he's throwing a million miles an hour when it's 27-27, and then having to punt to Texas. Just those sequences really could have came back to haunt Oklahoma, but ultimately it didn't. And when they had to have it, they got it. And last year, Oklahoma in the gotta have it moment couldn't. But Nick Anderson is great to see. But the defense, I mean, we'd be wrong to not talk about that defensive line that Oklahoma had. And Ethan Downs, welcome to the party. He was, he had himself a game. And DeJoun Terry, I mean, everyone on that defensive line looked fantastic.
They made, I think it just shows that, like, the first five, because the biggest thing going into today was Oklahoma has played nobody. But Texas beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, which I think to try to be objective about it, it is very hard to win on the road, and to win in Tuscaloosa is difficult. So I think pre-game you had to give props to that. But that was overblown because Oklahoma, even though they haven't played anybody, took care of business every single week. They did what they had to do. They won the game. They won. I know, and it's, to some people it might sound dumb, but they covered the spread every single time. That's not something that pre-Brent Venables you were gonna guarantee from Oklahoma, and you're seeing that now at USC. But going back to Oklahoma, this is a team that, if the back six go good, great, fantastic, whatever you want to say, if they take care of business in the back six, regardless of the Big 12 championship, this team will be in the college football playoffs.
I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't be in the playoffs at this point. They've got everything in front of them. This was the game that, Oklahoma wasn't going to be favored in. They're favored in every other game the rest of the year. I'd imagine they'll be favored against Texas if they play again in the Big 12 championship, which I would think so. I guess the biggest concern I've got would be just, the injuries. I mean, the injuries stacked up. I mean, Gentry Williams left the game. You had to throw Key Lawrence out there and play corner, which is tough. Metwire, McCade Metwire, he obviously got carted off, and certainly hope that's not a season-ending injury. Andrew Anthony got banged up, but he was still on the sidelines, so you'd like to think that maybe it's just a ankle sprain that keeps him out for a week or two, maybe 2-3 weeks. You'd hope anyway, since Anthony was still on the field. But who came in and really kind of settled the offensive line was Caden Green, playing that left guard position. And I know, he was recruited as a tackle and whatnot, but he came in and really steadied that offensive line that obviously has been up and down, not only in this game, but all season.
Well, and it shows that anyone that has questioned Coach B's recruiting is just looking at the stars. Caden Green in this situation was the best left guard. But I was thinking about it at halftime. Our ideal lineup on the offensive line is Caden Green at left tackle. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they can land Eddie Pierre-Louis, left guard. And then you've got Josh Bates at center. I mean, you got to pick if it's Big Sexy or Jake Taylor at right guard. And then right tackle, whichever one didn't make it at right guard. Or whichever one doesn't make it a right tackle will be the right guard. So if it's Big Sexy or Jake Taylor, they'll be right there on the right side. Because after this year, you got Jackson Arnold. And I think realistically he'll make more plays deep down the field. Oklahoma's got a real team here. And people that were doubting look like idiots today.
Yeah, it was quite a game. And I have to plug this. We are 50 subscribers away from 6,000. We got 200 people in here. Just need 50 of you. I know some of you are already subscribers just based off your usernames and stuff. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free and easy. Turn that notification bell on so you know when we go live after games or Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. Be sure to join us for that. So hit the subscribe, and it's not a bad time. Trust me.
I do want to comment real quick on the run game. I'm going to be honest. I said it earlier, I'm a little drunk, so I don't know if I said it already. Tawee Walker is the best running back on this football team right now. And it makes no sense. And I understand some people are really big Marcus Major fans, and I don't think he's bad. But Tawee Walker makes plays when he needs to. In the passing game, much better blocker. So DeMarco Murray needs to stop trying to put Marcus Major in. If it's his decision, DeMarco Murray needs to just change his thought process. Tawee is your number one as of right now. Maybe Javonte Barnes and Gemma Sawchuk will earn that once they get a little bit healthier. Tawee is number one. Do not, in the nicest way possible, do not put Marcus Major in again, because his pass blocking is not great. It's good, not great. Tawee's better. And when it just comes to finding the open hole and making it hard for the defense to put you down, Tawee is better.
Yeah. I got to ask you something. Is Jalil Farouk still, in your mind, he wasn't a number one?
No.
I've stood by my boy Jalil. He is that dude.
Today he showed that he is a bigger safety blanket than Drake Stoops, which is crazy because Drake Stoop is, your Hunter Renfrow, your Wes Welker, the guy that at any point you can basically promise that he's going to make the play. Jalil Farouk showed that he's better. I think if Jalil can carry today's momentum into the last 6 games of the year, he can definitely be a day 2 pick. I don't think he's good enough to be a day 1 pick in the NFL if he were to decide to go to the NFL draft after this season. But if he can carry this momentum to the rest of the year, he's day 2 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say enough. It was quite a game. A lot of things went Oklahoma's way, but a lot of things didn't go Oklahoma's way. And this is a game that Oklahoma last year would have lost, just from a mental standpoint. And looking at the schedule, the bye week could not come at a better time after all these injuries, getting a break, and then opening up at home against Central Florida here in 2 weeks from today, that we will be at, since we were both going to that one. Should be a perfect time. And I really am. I don't want to look ahead. We're halfway through the season and Oklahoma's 6-0, but when you start looking at this season, and we've already kind of mentioned it, Central Florida, Kansas, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, BYU, TCU, to me, that those are all very winnable games, and Oklahoma will be favored. And Oklahoma should be able to run the table. But at the end of the day, you just need to go 1-0 every week, and that's what Oklahoma has to focus on. And if you keep winning, everything takes care of itself. It doesn't matter what the rankings are. Oklahoma will be in the top 10 next week. The talk, the build-up will start to flip, pumping Oklahoma up finally. And we're going to see what happens.
And the biggest thing that did impress me about Oklahoma, and I think it would be crazier for us to not talk about it, is the interior of the offensive line. I genuinely believe that Devontre Sweat, I believe his name is, from Texas, would have been the biggest problem. That in the entire offensive line, every position, was very good. Now, Rahm had his miscues, and he definitely needs to clean those up. I think those away games later on in the season versus BYU, versus Oklahoma State could be a problem for him. But if he can open those ears up and really just think about what's, the guy behind him and not the guy, the crowd and the people around him, this Oklahoma team is going to clean up a lot of those miscues when it comes to the offense. And then, penalty wise, Oklahoma played relatively a good game.
Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but I'll tell you what, you don't have to be perfect. As long as you win, it's all that matters. That was an incredible game. That goal line stand, I think, will be an iconic moment that I know I'll look back on this season and remember that. There's certain plays and certain series and whatnot that are massive. And that's something I'll definitely look back on. But no, it was a great game. There's a lot of good stuff. So, and we're only 46 subscribers away. So, I mean, appreciate you guys from 6,000 that hopped on the train or boarded the plane with us. But I mean, just as a quick initial reaction, that's all I've got. A quick little 30 plus minute live stream. There's still a lot of good college football. And last time I checked, Alabama and A&M are tied 3-3. I'm not sure if they still are. There's a lot of good games going. So
there's a lot of good college football left, like you said. Oklahoma won. That's all that matters today for us. Enjoy the rest of the college football day. Blake, we told you were going to be wrong earlier in the week. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, share the stream. We're not going to be on. We're basically done for today. Make sure you turn on the notification bell though, because we will be live on Tuesday talking about it a little bit more, like we've digested it. And then if you want a t-shirt for the UCF game, talking about how game day in Norman is the best, go into the description. Links are in the description there. Go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think TikTok is on there. We appreciate you all for watching. We will see you on Tuesday during our live stream.